Nobody in Briar Glen took the stray seriously at first. It was a small town with a wide river cutting through the edge of it, the kind of river locals respected without thinking about it too much. Calm looking on the surface, but cold, fast, and deceptively strong underneath. In summer, kids fished along the bank and couples walked the path. In spring, after rain, the water turned loud and dangerous. That afternoon the sky was low and grey, and the air had that damp chill that crawled under your jacket. People were coming and going near the riverside trail, 2 moms pushing strollers, an older man walking with a cane, a pair of teens on bikes. And then the dog appeared, a muddy medium-sized stray, tan with dark ears, ribs faintly visible, came trotting up the path like it was on a mission. Its tail was low, not wagging, not tucked, just tense. Its eyes were wide and bright, and its mouth was open like it had been running hard. It stopped in front of Nina Park, who was taking a break on a bench while her little brother Eli chased pebbles near the path. The dog barked, not a friendly bark. Not a territorial bark, a sharp, urgent bark, one that made Nina's skin prickle. Eli froze. "Dog!" Nina stood immediately, pulling Eli closer. "Don't move!" The dog barked again, then turned and ran a few steps down the path. It stopped and looked back, barked again, then ran again, like it expected them to follow. Nina's heart thumped. "It wants something." Eli clutched her sleeve. "It's yelling at us." The dog sprinted back toward them and barked right in Nina's face. Not aggressive, not snapping, but close enough that she could see its wet nose and the foam at the edge of its mouth. Then it spun and ran down the path again. A man walking his golden retriever nearby stopped and stared. "What's with that dog?" he muttered. The stray didn't care about him. It kept focusing on Nina and Eli, like it had chosen them. Nina looked around, hoping for an owner, a leash, someone calling a name. Nothing, just people watching, confused. The dog barked again, louder this time, then ran toward the river bend where the trees opened to a steep bank. Nina felt a cold certainty settle into her chest. This wasn't play, this wasn't random, this was panic. A woman pushing a stroller approached cautiously. "Is it yours?" Nina shook her head. "No, it keeps trying to get us to follow it." The woman's face tightened. "Maybe there's someone hurt." As if the words were permission, the stray barked hard and darted toward the river again. A few people began moving behind it, slow, hesitant, not wanting to assume the worst. The golden retriever owner clipped his dog closer. "I'm not letting my dog get near that water," he said, but he followed on the path anyway. Nina looked down at Eli. "Stay behind me." Eli nodded, eyes wide. They followed the barking stray along the trail. The dog ran ahead, stopped, barked, doubled back, barked again, then sprinted forward, keeping them moving like a shepherd dog herding stubborn sheep. The river grew louder the closer they got. The water was high from recent rain, swirling fast around exposed roots and rocks. The stray stopped at the edge of the bank and barked non-stop now, frantic, hackles raised. Nina pushed to the front of the small crowd forming. Then she saw it. Something in the water. At first she thought it was a branch, then it moved. A small figure, half submerged, caught near a cluster of rocks close to the far edge of a shallow inlet. The current pinned it there, turning it, pulling at it. Nina's stomach dropped. It was a child. A boy, maybe 8 or 9, face pale, hair plastered to his forehead, one arm hooked awkwardly over a rock like it was the only thing keeping him from being swept away. He wasn't screaming. That was the terrifying part. He looked too exhausted to scream. Nina heard someone gasp behind her. "Oh my God!" The stray dog barked so hard its whole body shook, like it was furious that humans were only now seeing what it had been trying to show them. A man near the back pulled out his phone. "Call 911!" Another woman shouted. "Someone get a rope!" But the bank was steep and muddy, and the water between them and the boy moved fast, cold and brown. Even if someone threw something, there was no guarantee it would reach him. The boy's head lifted weakly, eyes unfocused. Then his grip slipped an inch. The crowd surged forward instinctively, but no one moved close enough to jump. Because everyone knew the truth. If you went into that river, it might take you too. The stray dog barked, spinning in circles, then locked eyes on one man standing near the edge. A tall man in a dark jacket, early 30s, strong build, face pale with shock. His name was Connor Hale. He hadn't planned to be a hero. He'd been jogging the trail after work, headphones in, mind elsewhere, until a stray dog came out of nowhere barking like its life depended on it. Connor stared at the boy in the water, then down at the current. He took one step forward, then stopped. Nina heard him whisper, almost to himself, "That's a kid." The stray dog barked directly at him, sharp and relentless. Connor's jaw clenched. He looked around. "Does anyone have a rope? A belt? Anything?" People shook their heads, fumbling in bags, panicking. Someone shouted, "Fire department is on the way!" Connor looked back at the boy. The boy's head sagged. His arm trembled. Seconds mattered. Connor swallowed hard. Then, without another word, he yanked off his jacket and tossed it onto the grass. The stray dog barked once, almost like approval. Nina's heart slammed. Because Connor wasn't backing away. He was stepping closer to the edge, and everyone watching knew what he was about to do. "Don't do it!" someone yelled. Connor ignored them. He scanned the bank quickly, looking for the safest entry point. There wasn't one. The mud sloped down, slick and unstable. The current was fast, and the water was cold enough to shock you the second you hit it. Connor crouched, testing the ground with his foot. The stray dog stood inches behind him, barking non-stop, ears forward, body tense like a coiled spring. It wasn't running around anymore. It was locked in, watching Connor like it knew he was the only one moving toward action. Nina's hands were shaking. Eli clung to her arm. "Is he going to die?" Eli whispered. Nina swallowed, eyes fixed on the boy in the water. "Not if he gets him." Connor looked back at the crowd. "Call 911 if you haven't," he said, voice harsh. "Tell them I'm going in." A woman raised her phone, voice trembling. "They're coming. Please be careful." Connor nodded once, like he'd accepted the risk. Then he did something smart before the jump, something that kept this from turning into two bodies in the river. He grabbed a long fallen branch near the path, thick, sturdy, and shoved one end into the mud, wedging it against a root like an anchor. "Hold this," he barked. Two men rushed forward and grabbed the branch, bracing themselves. Connor looped his belt around his waist and clipped it around the branch too, creating a crude tether. It wasn't perfect, but it was something. Nina's chest tightened with a mix of fear and hope. At least he wasn't going in completely untethered. Connor took a deep breath, eyes on the boy. The boy's head lifted weakly, and Nina saw his lips move like he was trying to say something, but nothing came out. Connor's expression hardened into determination. He slid down the muddy bank carefully at first, feet digging in. Then the mud gave way. Connor slipped, caught himself, and then, because there was no more slow option, he launched. He hit the water with a shockingly loud splash. The crowd collectively flinched. Connor's body jolted, cold water shock hitting instantly. For a second his arms flailed as the current tried to take his legs. The belt tether snapped tight. The branch flexed. The men holding it strained, grunting, digging their boots into the snowless but slick ground. Connor fought for orientation, face grim, then began swimming hard, not straight toward the boy, but diagonally, using the current instead of battling it head-on. The stray dog barked like it was counting seconds. Connor reached the rocks where the boy was trapped. Up close, the situation looked worse. The boy's leg seemed wedged between two stones, and the water hammered his body, pinning him like a rag doll. Connor grabbed the boy's jacket collar first, keeping his head above water. "Hey!" Connor shouted over the roar. "Look at me! Look at me!" The boy's eyes fluttered. Connor's voice went fierce. "Stay with me! I've got you!" He reached down, feeling for the trapped leg. The current pushed his own body sideways, slamming him against rock edges. He gritted his teeth, fighting pain, keeping one arm locked around the boy. He found the boy's ankle. It was stuck. Connor tried to pull gently. No movement. He adjusted his grip, then pushed the boy's knee forward to change the angle, trying to free it without breaking it. The boy made a small, weak sound, half cry, half gasp. Connor's heart hammered. I know, hold on. From the bank, someone shouted, Is he okay? Connor didn't answer. He couldn't waste breath. He braced his own foot against a rock and used leverage, pushing the trapped leg sideways. For a second, nothing happened. Then the boy's leg shifted a fraction. Connor felt the opening and acted instantly, pulling the leg free in one controlled motion. The boy's body jerked loose. Immediately the current tried to rip him away. Connor wrapped both arms around him and shouted, Pull! The men on the bank yanked the branch and belt, dragging Connor and the boy slightly toward the shallower edge. Connor kicked hard, using the pull to fight current. But the river fought back. A surge hit them, spinning Connor. His face went under. For one terrifying second, Nina saw only churning water where Connor had been. The stray dog's bark turned into a frantic howl. Then Connor surfaced again, gasping, still holding the boy. The crowd erupted with panicked shouts. Hold on! Keep pulling! Don't let go! Connor's muscles shook with effort. He kicked, inch by inch, letting the tether do the heavy work while he kept the boy's head above water. They reached the muddy edge. Hands grabbed Connor's arms, then the boy's jacket. Together, the crowd hauled them out, collapsing them onto the grass. The boy coughed violently, water pouring out. His eyes rolled. His face was grey. A woman dropped to her knees and started chest compressions. Someone with training, hands moving fast. Connor lay on his side, gulping air, shaking uncontrollably from cold. Nina's heart slammed as she watched the boy's chest. Move. Not enough. The stray dog ran in circles around them, barking, then stopped and pressed close to the boy's side, whining sharply. Connor coughed and pushed himself up, voice rough. He needs warmth. Now. People ripped off jackets, blankets, anything, wrapping the boy. And then the strangest thing happened. The stray dog, muddy, thin, forgotten by everyone until now, climbed into the pile of coats and pressed its warm body against the boy's chest. It held there, trembling, not leaving, like it had been waiting to do that part. Nina felt tears sting her eyes, because the dog hadn't just led them, it was still helping, still refusing to let the boy be alone. Sirens finally screamed closer. Rescue was arriving. But the hardest part, the part no one wanted to watch, had already happened. A man had jumped into a river that could have killed him, because a stray dog wouldn't stop barking. The ambulance arrived first, skidding slightly on the wet road, followed by a fire truck and a rescue unit with water gear. Paramedics sprinted down the trail with equipment, voices sharp and urgent. Where's the patient? How long submerged? Move back! The crowd parted quickly. The boy lay wrapped in coats, coughing weakly now but still dangerously pale. The stray dog was still pressed against him, refusing to move. A paramedic crouched, checked airway, then looked up. Good job getting him out. He's alive. A collective exhale rippled through the crowd, like everyone had been holding breath together. Connor sat nearby, shivering violently, lips tinged blue. A firefighter wrapped a thermal blanket around his shoulders and checked him too. You went in? The firefighter asked, incredulous. Connor nodded through chattering teeth. He was stuck. The firefighter shook his head, half admiration, half disbelief. You're lucky you had that tether. Connor's eyes flicked to the stray dog, still glued to the boy like a guardian. He rasped, That dog started it. A paramedic glanced at the dog. Whose dog is that? No one answered. Nina stepped forward, voice shaky. It's a stray. It led us here. It wouldn't stop barking. The paramedic's expression softened. Smart dog. As paramedics loaded the boy onto a stretcher, the dog finally stood, reluctantly, but followed close, whining, trying to climb onto the stretcher. Hey, hey, a firefighter said gently, blocking it. "We've got him." The dog barked once, sharp, angry, like it didn't believe them. Then it did something that made Connor's stomach drop all over again. It turned away from the stretcher and sprinted back toward the riverbank. Not running off. Running back to the spot it had been barking at. Rhea Kim, yes, again, because she was now part of half the town's emergencies, arrived with animal control, having been dispatched once someone reported a stray involved. She saw the dog sprinting and frowned. "Where's it going?" Connor stood unsteadily, blanket wrapped around him. "That dog? It's doing it again." Nina's pulse spiked. "Again?" They followed. The dog stopped at the edge of the bank and barked, frantic. Not at the water this time, at the mud near the reeds. Connor staggered closer, eyes narrowing. There, half hidden in wet grass, was a small backpack. And beside it, something else. A child's bright red sneaker. Nina felt her stomach flip. Those aren't from the boy. The boy on the stretcher had been wearing both shoes. Nina remembered because one had been nearly ripped off in the current. Connor crouched, ignoring the cold stabbing his knees. He reached toward the backpack, but stopped when he saw a thin line of fishing cord tangled near it. Not natural, like someone had used it to tie something down. Connor's eyes met Rhea's. Rhea's expression hardened. "Don't touch it," she said. "Let the deputies see." A sheriff's deputy who'd arrived with the rescue team stepped forward, flashlight in hand, even though it was daytime, scanning the mud. "What is this?" he asked. Connor swallowed. "The dog led us back. It's barking at these." The deputy crouched, careful, and used a pen to lift the backpack slightly. Inside was a laminated card, school ID, and a folded note in a plastic bag, soggy but legible enough to make the deputy's face go still. His voice went low. "This isn't an accident." Nina's blood ran cold. "What do you mean?" The deputy looked up at the gathered faces. "Someone brought that child down here," he said quietly, "and they left his things." A sick silence spread. Connor's stomach tightened. So the boy didn't just fall in. The deputy's jaw clenched. Not with this. The stray dog barked again, relentless. And in that moment, Connor understood what the dog had been trying to tell them all along. It hadn't just found a child in trouble, it had found evidence. It had found something wrong that humans weren't seeing, because humans were looking only at the water, not the story around it. Sirens continued in the background as the ambulance drove away with the boy. Deputies began marking the area, taking photos, calling in investigators. Rhea crouched near the stray dog, speaking softly. "Easy, buddy, easy." The dog's body trembled. It wasn't aggressive, it was frantic with purpose. Connor sat down hard on the grass, shaking, thermal blanket around his shoulders, staring at the muddy bank like it had transformed into something darker. Nina hugged Eli tightly, voice barely a whisper. "That dog saved him." Connor swallowed, staring at the stray. "Yeah," he rasped. "And it might have saved someone else too, by making sure we didn't leave before we saw the rest." The deputy stood, phone to his ear, calling in updates. The stray dog finally stopped barking long enough to take a shaky breath. Then it walked back toward the path, circling once, like it was checking on everyone, before returning to stand at the edge of the river again, watching. Not because it wanted attention, because it still wasn't done. And as the crowd dispersed, Connor looked at the dog and felt something settle inside him. The dog had no collar, no owner, no guarantee of safety. But it had done what many humans wouldn't. It had refused to be ignored. It had forced the world to stop. And because one brave man finally jumped in, and because a stray wouldn't stop barking, a child who should have been lost to the river wasn't. Not today.